excited to share information about the first regional pitch contest, or should I say regional procurement pitch contest that's ever taken place, especially in Virginia that I know of. Joining me today in this partnership is Carl Knoblock. Carl is the director of the Virginia Small Business Development Center, or Small Business Administration, I apologize, SBA for Virginia. And then Billie Roberts is with Virginia Community Capital, and she has been helping me tremendously with this program. As I say, this is our first, so we are learning as we go, but our objective is to kind of share with you over the next hour this grand opportunity. There's nothing that's been like it. You've probably heard that there is a little thing in the old Bristol mall where I used to go shopping all during my teenage and adult life until they closed. That is now going to be changing a lot of the landscape of Southwest Virginia, and with that change brings opportunity, and that's exactly why we're here. So we're going to talk about the rules and guidelines for this pitch. Virginia Community Capital, if you're not familiar with us, we are a community development financial institution. We're kind of a unique organization. We're a nonprofit, but we have a for-profit bank. And we focus on three areas. That is lending, investing, and community innovation services. With the way we're set up, we have foundations, corporations, and others that contribute to our mission to help us get the word out and to help our communities in Southwest, right in Virginia. We were lucky enough in the spring to win an award that we're taking half of that award to put up this first pitch. And how we got the idea is, if anybody went to the Southwest Virginia Economic Forum in May, you missed a great event. You ought to look for it up online. But part of that event was a panel discussion by Ali Evangelista, who is the president of the new Bristol Casino, and Karen Hester with Southern Churn, talking about the opportunities and what this has to offer. When she started talking about, Ali that is, all of the opportunities, but also the struggles that they've had identifying and connecting with vendors, we thought, why can we not turn this into an opportunity to help them? And that's why we decided to put up $50,000, $10,000 awards to help them find businesses to provide products and services. So we're going to go through all of those requirements. First of all, Carl Knoblock with SBA is going to talk about the rules. We have grant funds, so we have to be good stewards of that money to go through all the process and what's required of you as a competitor. Then we're going to talk about how you apply and what you need in regards to maybe some tips on pitching your business ideas. Anybody watch Shark Tank? Well, think of that, but you got 3 minutes to pitch your business idea. And if you don't know how to do it, go to the internet, go to YouTube. There's tons and tons of resources and samples of how you pitch your business idea and video that. Then we're going to talk about what's Hard Rock's requirements to become a vendor. And it's not just say, I want to sell to you. There's some steps that you have to go through. So Billy's going to go through all of that. And then we're going to talk about, because this is a casino in Virginia, the first, yay, Bristol, we're going to go through what they require at the Virginia Lottery for you to become a vendor within a casino in Virginia. As we're talking about this opportunity, keep in mind that you're not only looking at the Bristol casino, you have the potential of selling to all the Hard Rock casinos. Number one, that's national and international. Number two, not just Bristol Casino, but there are 3 other casinos coming on board over the next 2 to 3 years in Virginia. So once you get registered with the Virginia Lottery, then you have access to those. You kind of be the first, because other communities have never even thought about this. And then we also don't want you to get scared and think that I can't do this, I can't handle it all. Well, sometimes in business, if you've had to do it, you have to find a partner. Maybe I can't handle everything on that order and I need to find a partner. we're gonna share some resources of where you can find other potential vendors, businesses like you, that you might can partner with to get that RFP. All of our goal is to help you to be successful and get a piece of this pie, or what the casino has to offer. So that's why we're doing the contest. We want them to be successful, but most importantly, we want to share the wealth. This is Virginia's first. Now, if you've not been keeping up with the stats, and that's the boring part of me, is the impact that the casinos already had. If you've not found out, in the first 23 days of operation in Bristol, which they opened, Becky, was that July the 8th?
Yes.
Wow, what a memory.
I know.
They made a big impact on Bristol. For example, they generated 11.7 million of adjusted gross revenue just the first 23 days. And part of that you need to know of, that generated 2.1 million in taxes that's being paid. And if you don't know, that money is going throughout the 12 counties that are within the VDOT Bristol district, which means not all that money is going to Bristol. It's spread around Southwest Virginia. So that further is why we are taking this pitch contest to others to help you connect with that. And as I mentioned, they are hoping to be in their permanent facility in 2024, which means there's a lot of work that has to be done, and you'll hear more about that because we've got a interview that we're giving from the head of procurement for the casino. But as I mentioned, there's 3 other casinos that are being planned for Virginia, and that is in Danville, Norfolk, and Portsmouth. So the opportunities there, a lot of times we look for the low-hanging fruit. We now want you to kind of look in other parts of the tree to be able to identify opportunities, and that's all the reason that we're doing that. So I'm going to turn it over to Carl Knoblock, my partner, and he's going to go over the guidelines. And again, this is a training session, so if you have questions, let us know.
Thank you, Sandy. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Great to be here. Anyway, I want you to keep this in context because we're going through a lot of information. What I'm talking about right now is about the competition, okay? When we get into the next phase, that is not tied to the competition. So please keep that in clarity, and I know Billy will reinforce that as we move into that. So this is focused on the competition related to the funds for the $10,000, the 5 of them. So anyway, the five $10,000 awards to a woman and or minority business within this nice, beautiful green and blue footprint that the businesses are located to take advantage. You have to be a for-profit operation. You cannot be a nonprofit for this competition. The one thing we want to stress, we do have tight rules. The reason is because of the large area that we're dealing with, we have to make sure that everybody's treated equally. So the deadline is 5 o'clock, October 21st, that your application and video has to be in. If not, if it's 5:01, I'm sorry, it doesn't count. Yeah, it's just the way it works. You have to be in business 2 years, and we need a business website. That way we can do a double check to kind of see what you have available. So it correlates to what you're actually trying to sell to the casino. And applicants have to be 18 years of age or older through the process. The one thing is, in this pitch contest, there's the applications 2 pages or less. And I do stress 2 pages or less. It's not longer than 2 pages. The thing is, and I cannot stress this enough, what are you going to solve for the casino? The casino really doesn't want to know what you do. What are you solving for them? Remember, they're learning. So you may bring something to them they've never even thought about until you put it to them. Say, this is what I can solve for you. So please understand that as you put this together. The other thing is you're talking about your product or service that you currently have and the market. What is your current market? Where do you see your future market? With the casino and without the casino. your size and sales strategy to date, and what do you see in the future? What is your management team? Is it a management team of 1? Is it a management team of 5? The key component is, what I stress on this management team, is if it's 1 and you happen, heaven forbid, to get ill, how do you still meet the needs of the casino? So you have to take that into account, and that's where that partnership potentially becomes a critical component as you look to this opportunity. Your financials, your revenues, profits over the last 2 years, and then any types of insurance or bonding that you may have. Bless you. The one thing I want to talk about, the ownership has to be 51% women or minority owned. So realize that as you go through this process, and you will have to show proof of documentation with that, so that way it's clear to you as you move forward in this. The one thing I want to stress is taxes and business licenses, that you have them, that you're in compliance. If you're, let's say, with the IRS, if you're on a payback program, as long as it's documented, you're okay. The thing is, we do have an exception for the agriculture and agritourism and outdoor activities at this point in time. So just wanted to bring that out as a highlight through this process. Related to the judging and scoring, the big thing is the 3-minute video. And it has to be less than 3 minutes. If it's 3:01, it will be immediately disqualified. So understand that. The other thing is that your procurement plan, that's kind of your story leading to that video. The thing is that we will have judges. You will not know who the judges are. They will come from Hard Rock as one set. We will have professional business people that will also be judges. And a third piece that we discussed long and hard about, because we feel this is a community project, so actually the audience will also be able to vote. So they'll actually be able to give their take on what they feel is the best businesses for this opportunity. So they will, as you can see, the breakdown, as we would assume, the casino procurement team gets 35%, the professional business 25%, and then the audience is 15% of the judging breakdown. It'll be a 1 to 10 score that it will be based on. And like I said, it will come down to what you potentially bring to the table. The one thing that we want to stress through this, even though you may not win, you may bring opportunities to the casino that they may actually come and talk to you on their own and say, hey, can we talk a little bit further about this? Because we like what you have, even though you didn't win. So please realize that this opens a door, because the casino will see all the videos. They have rights to all of them. So they will see everything. So that's an opportunity for you to market yourself to the casino, separate from this. As you can see, the last one's really important. These plans will not be shared. They will only be shared with the judges, and those people on the executive team will only have rights to this information. It will not be released unless that business entity says in writing that they want it released. We kind of listed some of the eligible procurement categories, but the one thing we want to stress to you is this is not inclusive. We're just kind of giving you some ideas when we were brainstorming with the casino that they kind of threw up. But the thing is that the list is limitless. And what I want to stress to you from this is, don't only think about what people may purchase if they were going there. It's also about, as the hotel's being built, what do they want? Remember, the casinos are a reflection of where they're built. and take a really hard look. We really have a unique opportunity here, because how many casinos are built in a rural area? Number one. Number two, how many casinos are built totally unique with no other casinos around that have a really strong history? So this region really has a big opportunity to be a disruptor if we take advantage of it. So we have a lot to bring to the table. And otherwise, Hard Rock wouldn't have put themselves here. And I can tell you in our brief conversations with them, they see all kinds of unique things. And we hope the rest of the region buys into this and runs with it. The other thing is, and this will be talked further, I'm just going to briefly highlight, this is really the next phase. This is not a requirement for this competition. This is just kind of identifying the two categories that the lottery system has kind of brought out in Hard Rock. But this will be talked about further. The one thing I want to stress, though, if somebody's already doing business with Hard Rock as a vendor, they are not allowed to compete in this competition. They're looking for new vendors, and that's the way it will be approached. Decisions by the judges is finals. There's no changing. And the awards go directly to those businesses, and they can't be transferred or negotiated or anything like that. And the impact report, we want that because we need to see the benefits of what this has done for that business and the community. How to apply? Online only. I cannot stress. So this is not where you get to bring it to somebody at the last minute. This is not where you get to mail it to someone. It is online only. So everything is done through the web, as we say. So there's the criteria. Once again, stressing, 5 o'clock, October 21, deadline, no matter what. Once again, anybody doing business with Hard Rock already as a vendor cannot compete in this competition. The one thing we want to stress, Sandy, myself, Billy are here, but there's another great resource that's in the local community, our small business development centers. We have Cindy here, who's, raise your hand, who's can also assist with getting you to think differently about what you bring to the table and the opportunities. These are some of the things that we were talking about with your 2-page that you kind of see highlighted there. But the big one is that 3-minute video and how you showcase yourself. That pitch that you're trying to get out there, as we talked about, you have Shark Tank that has tons of ones, as YouTube. There's all kinds of things. The one thing it comes down to is being natural. Totally natural. Practice, practice, practice. Can't say that. So you can look into the camera, your smartphone, whatever it may be, and you just feel like you're just talking to someone as a normal conversation. Because that's what's going to make the connection. The thing is that we want them to know what that unique solution you're bringing to them. And so that's what you work with. And once again, that SBDC is a great resource to bounce ideas off of to kind of help with your guidance in that, besides talking to any of the three of us. As I stated, understanding your backdrops, all that. Preparing the script is only a guide. Eventually, what you want to be able to do is not to even think about the script. It just flows naturally. The script is a guide to build you until you get your practice, practice, practice. The one thing is that don't be afraid to have people critique it and ask them to be honest, because at the end of the day, it's about, don't think about it as I could be one of the 5 that wins $10,000. That's really important. Yes, that's great. Remember, even if you don't win, Hard Rock sees it. And that's an opportunity that you may actually get business and you're not a winner. But you win because they want to do business with you. So don't lose sight of that as you're doing this. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Billy, who's going to talk about, and this is where you have to kind of shift, turn off, We're not talking anymore about the competition. This is a whole different other aspect if you want to do business with Hard Rock, if you didn't win, but they want to do business with you.
Thank you, Carl. That was a great summary, I think, on all of the steps when it comes to applying for the contest. And again, we're all here to help. Again, this is how to become a vendor with Hard Rock. So let's say you win the contest and you're trying to move forward onto the next steps. This is something that you'll need to pay attention to, and so that you can become a vendor with Hard Rock. Let's say that you didn't win the contest, but you still want to pursue maybe providing a service to the casino. This would also be something that you would have to take into consideration as you move forward. So we just wanted to be sure to give you all the information so that there were no surprises as you move forward. And it can be a lot of information at times, so we just kind of wanted to break it down for you, and it's really not that overwhelming once you just break it down into steps. There are two types of vendors. There are exempt and non-exempt vendors. We'll go over both of those today. This is Stephen Collins. He's the purchasing manager for the Hard Rock Bristol Casino. He is going to talk a little bit about what an exempt vendor is right now.
Be a verbal to me, or it could be an email where they say, hey, we have this vendor that we would like to bring on because we have a service or good that is needed within our property. And a lot of it is just, we need to have someone that is typically a director or above. So it has to be a director, VP, or executive VP or president. And they state, hey, we need this, we would like to start vetting vendors for this good or service. Or it could be a little bit different. They could say, hey, we have this vendor and we want to give them a try. And we would reach out to that vendor from the purchasing and vendor registration aspect. And what we typically require from the requester of the vendor is an annual spend and a point of contact. That point of contact requires a phone number, an email, and a full name. So when they do that, they'll give us a point of contact, how much they feel as if the annual spend will be. And if that annual spend is below $20,000, we will reach out to the vendor at that time, and we will request a W-9, a certificate of insurance. We will have them fill out a vendor ethics statement, and then we will give them an ACH form. It is up to the vendor whether or not they would like to fill out that ACH form for wire transfer or direct deposit when it comes to billing. We can also offer a check. We will not pay cash though. And we've had some vendors locally that back away because they want a cash payment. But as a casino company, we have to stay compliant, and we basically drop all of our cash and we send that out. We don't keep cash here on property in that manner. So that's kind of just the requirement for an exempt vendor. It's under 20,000 spend. The request comes from a director or above. And then, I mean, the request can come from me as well. If I know that we need more vendors, or if we're very light in part of our portfolio on, say, print vendors or something in that manner for wall hangings or wraps or just print to begin with, we will reach out and start locally sourcing a little bit more to ensure that we're kind of giving back to the community that way. But once that's completed, it's really just those 4 items, and then we will create the vendor within our system, and we can start basically placing orders the week of once that vendor is created. Should the vendor have a portfolio of other items or goods that we really aren't looking for at that time, we will create a bid sheet for that vendor and allow that vendor to, albeit it could be a weekly bid, monthly bid, quarterly, however they want to manage their pricing on the goods that they have. And then what that does, it really gives us a better understanding of that company's overall capabilities and standings.
Okay. So one thing I'd like to point out is, like, so how would you get a request from a department leader, right? You would go to vendor registration at hardrock.com and make sure that they have your information there and what your business actually does. You guys have any questions about being an exempt vendor? You good? Okay. So now we're going to talk a little bit about becoming a vendor with the Virginia Lottery, because this is a Virginia casino. So here's another part to that. Stephen is also going to talk about what a non-exempt vendor means.
Now, a non-exempt vendor, it's a little different. There is a web link that we send to them for Virginia Lottery, and in addition to the other items that are requested for an exempt vendor, their point of contact needs to also have a date of birth, the title of the person's name, and then their email and phone number. So the date of birth and basically their title. When that occurs and we get that, we will send them a link to gaminglicense.virginialottery.com. And what that does, it starts opening an account for them. And it is going to have a Virginia Lottery Commission officer, so to say, really kind of start doing a background check on them, things in that manner. And there's quite a few credentials that are needed to complete the vendor application at that time. We are here to help step through that process. And we do disclose vendor registration at hardrock.com for them to reach out and ask us questions. It is a tedious process, just to kind of be very clear. It definitely takes a few weeks, up to probably a month sometime, depending on how long it takes to get the documents. Some of the documents that are required, there's about 9 different documents that are required when it comes to being a non-exempt vendor for us. One of them is the Virginia State Corporation Commission number that they have for their business. A certificate of good standing from the Virginia State Corporation Commission. We do provide a how-to guide on how to obtain that certificate of good standing. We also ask, if it's applicable, that they fill out a fictitious name certificate. We also have instructions for that we can share. There is a notarized authorization for release of their information. So we make sure that a notary is basically notified and that they show proof that they are allowed to release that information to our corporation. There's also an affidavit of representation of the applicant, and we have all those different forms that we attach. And then they can actually go to the gaming licensing website and start stepping through the process at that point. We will disclose the ACH form, their certificate of insurance that's naming Hard Rock Bristol as an additional insured on their insurance. Sometimes that can be waived if it's just a service that's going to be provided, or a good that will be provided, as to where the vendor will never have to be on property. We can kind of waive some of that. So there's vendors such as floral vendors that need to come on property and things in that manner, and should they get hurt while they're doing their delivery, we're not able to waive that. But there are vendors such as dealerships, like car dealerships, that we utilize, where we're basically picking the car up and bringing it here to do a giveaway, so there's no need for that style of insurance. So some of that can definitely be worked around. The signed vendor ethics statement and procedure statement, and then there's a confirmation of a $500 payment. And a lot of that $500 payment, I know that deters vendors sometimes. They're wondering why they have to pay to be a vendor with us. A lot of it is based on the Virginia Lottery Commission and how much money goes into them vetting the actual vendor itself. None of that money is actually seen by Hard Rock. That money actually goes back to the state based on the amount of hours and work that goes into actually vetting the vendor for the most part. Vendors will have to send an email to vendor submissions at VA Lottery confirming that the fee submission has been sent in. And the email will have to include the vendor's name and then the name of our casino, and they'll want to understand whether they want it as a wire or ACH confirmation. If not, we will be able to cut a check in that manner as well. If your company is considered a DBE vendor, which includes women-owned businesses, minority-owned, veteran-owned, or owned by a person with a disability, in order to qualify for DBE status, the representative owner must own at least 51% of the business. And that those documentations will have to be provided as well. So DBE vendors definitely get more of our attention when it comes to stuff like that, because we're a company that a lot of our mottos are all is one, you know, things like that. And inclusion and diversity is huge within our company. And if you didn't know, the Seminole tribe that owns all of Hard Rock in its entirety, the board of the Seminole tribe is all women. And the women are the ones that actually kind of create the laws and the different things that they want to put into effect. And then the council will sit at the council oak tree, which is all the men, and they will go through and sign those on a monthly basis under the council oak tree there at the Seminole Reservation. So that's kind of the difference between becoming a vendor and being an exempt vendor versus a non-exempt vendor. We are all about hand-holding quite a bit as well. We don't want the vendor to feel as if we are going hands-off while they're going through their process, albeit non-exempt or exempt. Exempt is definitely a much quicker process, and we can do business almost same week or week of. Should we know that we are going to spend over $20,000 with them months down the road, we will probably register them exempt to start on that time.
Sorry.
No, you're good. We will probably allow them to, we will register them exempt while they're going through the actual extensive process of becoming a VA lottery approved vendor. And I think one of the biggest perks of becoming a VA lottery vendor is that you're allowed to do business with any and all other casino entities or large business entities within the state at that time. So being able to vet yourself and go through that process, you will only need to do it once. So as the other properties open in the Danville area, Hampton Roads area, and Richmond, it's very attractive to become a vendor. And unfortunately, we are the ones that are having to kind of go through it all at first, you know, so we're really kind of building that progress. And right now we do have a vendor portfolio in the state that has over 500 vendors, albeit that they're not all non-exempt vendors, but in time, I'm sure, as we progress as a business here and we open hotel towers and the pool areas and other restaurants and things in that manner, it will definitely benefit them to kind of go through that whole process at the beginning. Our employees also go through that process, but it's more of a gaming licensing process where it's very large background checks, things in that manner. Each one gets an officer and kind of vets themselves that way as well. So it's definitely a tedious process, and it deters people here and there. It really does, because a lot of people in the state of Virginia have never been asked some of these questions due to the fact that there's never been a gaming commission or some sort of casino property. And when you're dealing with this much money and how much the government presence is and state presence within any sort of gaming industry itself, it really kind of deters people in that manner. And we try and allow the vendors to understand that we are here to help. You know, we need your business almost as much as you need ours, if not more, you know. So we do need to find these people and pull them, albeit out of the hills of Southwest Virginia, you know, and get people off the couches and come in here and show us their products and goods and services, because some of those unique products, goods, and services are exactly what we're looking for. We like to be a unique company.
That was a lot of information. You guys have any questions about all of that?
Are you going to give us a
Yes.
link to all this?
Yeah, we'll send you guys the PowerPoint. The PowerPoint has links to all the information that we talked about.
Okay.
Some of the links that we'll include are the application to the Virginia Lottery. It looks like this, and it's kind of a thick application. Don't let it intimidate you at all. I think most of you here in the room would probably take his advice of going in as an exempt vendor, and then until you reach up to 20,000, and then start going through that process. There's also a link to the guidelines for this application if you're curious to see how that works. And just to reiterate once again, if you plan on selling under $20,000, you're exempt. No need to go through the lottery application. If you plan on selling over $20,000, this is annually in 1 year, then you would go through the lottery process with all of that $500 application and all the other list of things that Stephen talked about.
And Dana, I'm recording this too, so we'll have a video.
Yeah. Okay, and then this is if you plan on being a non-exempt vendor. Some of the things that they talk about in the guidelines. It's just easier to see that way versus when you go onto the website and look. But basically, it's all the things that Stephen already talked about. But being accurate, complete, and prompt is number one. It's all online as well, so making sure that you can handle that process and the fees. And the cool thing is if that you see that you're going to reach that $20,000 limit where you'll have to be a non-exempt vendor, it really does open you up to a lot of other opportunities. I don't know if everyone's aware that other casinos are opening up in Virginia. So once a vendor is approved through the Virginia Lottery, the vendor is authorized to conduct business with all the Virginia casinos, which really is a great opportunity.
So those other casinos aren't Hard Rock?
No, the other casinos in Virginia are different types of casinos, but this one in Bristol is Hard Rock, yeah. But if you are a vendor, if you are a vendor approved through that does open you up to business through the other Hard Rocks as well.
Are there any Hard Rocks in the region?
Not in our
Not in
region.
Tennessee or like in the Smoky Mountains or
I
anything?
don't think so.
I think that Cincinnati or somewhere.
Yes,
There's one in
Cincinnati,
Cincinnati.
Gary.
Yeah, we saw that. Okay, Carl's going to talk about finding partners.
Thank you so much, Billy. Please keep in mind, the very beginning was talking about the competition. What Billy just talked about is if you win or don't win, what you would do business with Hard Rock and the Virginia Lottery. This next piece is sometimes you feel you're too small and that maybe you shouldn't even consider this. The one thing is, as I always stressed when I was in business, I'd rather get a piece of the pie than none of the pie. So don't be afraid to look for partners, to sit here and work with you. And the one thing I want to stress about that is, you know your competition that's around you, but the one thing that, remember, the area that for this competition goes past Allegheny and that. So I mean, we're talking a very big area that you may have competitors you never even knew of that now could potentially become a partner for your success. So don't lose sight of this as we move on. What we've done is we gave some basic resources to try to help you. So I don't know how many of you are on EVA, but that's for especially for women and minorities to get into, and you can get registered. And the nice thing is it's fairly easy, step by step, but also there are resources available from the state to guide you through that process, and I'll get to their website here in a minute. But the one thing is you can research here for potential vendors that do the same thing you do to potentially look at partnering with. So you would put in your codes, and you come up and identify, and you find, you can print your list out, and you can start doing a reach out if you'd like, by your zip code and all that.
Carl, and I just wanted to say that what comes out too is you can download a spreadsheet, an Excel document, that lists every business that's registered in Virginia or by zip code. If you want to go back one, Carl,
Yeah, I do.
you can actually put in zip codes of the area that you're searching for, especially if it's food related. You know, you don't want somebody from Virginia Beach to try to help you in Bristol with something. So you can be very specific, and then it, again, over there on the right shows you an example of what a spend report looks like, and you can download that as an Excel, and then you have you a database that you can either look and see who the contact is and contact or reach out to them.
And the other thing is, even though Sandy brought up Virginia Beach, for here it may not be, but remember if you wanted to expand, you have two casinos going on over there. So that's the way to look at this. But anyway, the www.eva.virginia.gov is where you can connect into, look for guidance and things like that. You know, your federal ID number or social security number, address, contact information, kind of gets the ball rolling for you. Those of you that do food products, you know, farm to table concept and all that, think about it. We're talking chefs at these locations. They want fresh product. That's what makes them distinct. And we all know that eating fresh food versus food from the grocery store has a totally different taste. And so they want to maximize that. So maybe you don't quite have the capabilities by yourself, but once again, finding those potential partners, you could actually sit there and provide it, and you both end up winning, or multiples of you end up winning. If you're offering professional services, another site that you can offer these tools. And the one thing is you go to look up, once again, you look by zip, what kind of board you're looking for, you know, cosmetology, contractors, all that. You pick it, the list comes up. So these are tools that are readily available to you, that are out there to guide you through this process, besides what's already in your local community that you're aware of. And you can also go talk to the local economic development resources for guidance of businesses they're aware of that may do the same thing you do that you potentially could talk to. The one thing I want to stress through this whole process, though, and this is dealing because we do a lot with federal contracting. We have a lot of people that like to partner together. They're chasing the money. And if you're chasing it for the money, more times than not, you will fail. Because you don't have the same philosophies, you don't have the same chemistry, and it leads to a lot of problems, and then everybody loses. So please, if you do decide to partner, make sure they think sort of like you do. They kind of have that same chemistry, same philosophies, because that's what creates the win-win and the growth opportunities. When you're just looking at it from the money perspective, disharmony starts happening. And eventually it all breaks apart and everybody loses. So just keep that in mind as you proceed forward. Artisans, you know, as we always say, the artisans work kind of on an island because they're creative people and they're unique. But Round the Mountain is a resource that can help bring those resources. As I said before, the casino's going to come about. They want the local flavor. That's what's going to make the casino unique. At the same time, remember, the casino's not going to stay looking like that all the time. It's going to change because they want people to come back to see what's new. So the thing is, this is going to be a revolving door opportunity. So as I stress to people, please take advantage of these tools that are readily available to you as you move forward with it. But remember, at the end of the day, no matter what, when you make that commitment to that casino, you have to meet it. So don't lose sight of that when you go into this, because your success is their success is your success. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Billy to close it out, and then open it up for questions.
Okay. So we thank you guys all for being here. This is a really great opportunity for all of our Southwest Virginia and regional businesses in the ARC footprint to take advantage and support such an opportunity for growth. I think we mentioned before that within the next 3 years they're going to have 2 towers for the hotel, and they need everything from linens to quilts to they need things for their gift shops. They need neat gifts from our area to send their VIP people. So if you're thinking, oh, I don't think my product or my service works, just start a conversation. Call Carl, Sandy, or me, and and Becky and Cindy back there. There's all kinds of resources around you that will help you be successful, even if it's not with winning the competition, with actually becoming a partner with the Bristol Casino. So here's all of our information. We'll make sure you all get it into your emails as long as you signed up at the sign-up list over there. And what questions do you have?
I just want to say, Becky, why don't you share with folks, Becky Nave with the Virginia Tourism Corporation, but also Becky has a different hat. She also sits on the Bristol City Council. So the impact and anything you want to, after sitting here, any words of wisdom you want to share with folks?
Yeah, thank you, Sandy. And all I'll say is this is an awesome opportunity. What a great opportunity we have having Hard Rock. Who would have thought we would have a Hard Rock in Bristol? I wish that my parents were still around who lived right up the street from that. They wouldn't believe it. I wish they could come back and I could tell them about it. It's really exciting, not only for Bristol, but for the entire region, because the entire region is benefiting from this casino. It's also a great opportunity for our small businesses. And so with our small businesses, we've had some that have signed on to be a vendor with Hard Rock and have already had to expand. They've already had to buy additional vehicles for their business. They've had to hire additional employees for their business. So I can't tell you the opportunity that we have in front of us. And then on top of it, you have Sandy and Billy with Virginia Community Capital, Carl with the SBA, who've put together this awesome opportunity to help boost you along with hopefully some prize money. This $10,000 prize could go a long way. But also I think the important thing is walking you through these steps and what they mean. Many have looked at it and said, no, I don't really understand it, I'm not going to do it, and walked away from possibly hundreds of thousands of dollars. So thank you all for taking this opportunity to put together, work with Hard Rock, get these videos together that walk you through the steps of signing up with the Virginia Lottery, and also how to do business with Hard Rock. I can't tell you how important that's been, not only to the businesses, but also to the Bristol community. As Sandy said, I wear two hats in this. I work for the Virginia Tourism Corporation, so I'm your regional rep. If you're a tourism-related business and you're not on our website, make sure that you get on virginia.org. We need to know you're here if you're not already. And then also I serve on the Bristol, Virginia City Council as a council member. So if I can ever help you from the Bristol, City of Bristol standpoint, please let me know. Thank you, Sandy and Billy and Carl, for letting me have a couple of minutes. Any questions from anybody? All right. All right, thank you.